So this is a question from the same paper which we had in last class. Last class we started that no, it's the Museus College. I think last class we did the Museus College paper only. Let me remember. Museus thing. Yeah, it's a continuation of that paper. Last week we did the license paper then. Okay. Next question I'll take from there then. Okay. All of you start doing this, what do you call spreadsheet question? I'll give you 10 minutes for this. So the time is now 6:04. At 6:15, I'll start replying and discussing this. Those who are done with this, you can raise your hands up in the participants list. Let me put a timer. Yes, those who are done doing the question, you can raise your hands up in the participant list. We'll have a minute remaining. Actually, today the count is less because the majority are having their provincial exam. Tudun, 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 tudun. Actually, Sarah, there were three different papers, meaning the online, physical, all three papers. No, I have planned to discuss. I don't think I can discuss all three within a short period of time, but I want to discuss one of them. After I mark the papers, I will decide which one. I'll let you know in the class. Let's see. But I want to, but still I have not made the decision on which one am I going to discuss. Exactly. I want to discuss the hardest one. So I want to see like which one has least number of A's. Okay, let's begin. I sound like a very, what do you call, person who is like traumatizing students. Like if people who is not joining the class listen to what I'm speaking, they'll think that I'm killing people in the class, man. Sahil, what do you mean by that? I didn't get your question. Okay, let's begin. The following spreadsheet shows some information. Uh, I'll count the latest side bit. The following spreadsheet information shows information about government schools, functions, functional grade wise comparison of basic information for 2016. Okay, let's just go through the table. Always spreadsheet question. First of all, just have a rough idea of the table. They have mentioned a topic here, unwanted. They have mentioned some types of school, 1AB, 1C, type 2, type 3 killer. They have mentioned a couple of types, fine. And they have mentioned the number of schools. Um, I think number of schools is counties. And number of students, fine. Number of teachers, fine. Number of grade 1 admissions, okay. The student to teacher ratio, fine. So they have given some random data. Again, it doesn't make sense what those data is about. Um, yeah. Let's go through the chart to see what the exact data is meaning. The first question they have mentioned, student teacher ratio. Okay, it's like an equation they have given you here. They're saying student teacher ratio is equal to the number of students you have divided by the number of teacher. Okay, so they have given you an equation to find the student teacher ratio. Now, if you look at the column here, there's a column called student teacher ratio. No? So under this student teacher ratio, you can see there are some values. So they are saying how they have obtained this value. They're saying to obtain this value, you're going to first of all get the number of students, that is this value, and divide by the number of teachers, which is this value. That's the idea they have mentioned there. Is used to calculate the student teacher ratio for all the types of schools. Write down the formula to be written in cell F5. So F5 means column F is this, row number 5 is this. So F5 means this fellow. Okay. So write the formula for F5 to find the student teacher ratio for type 2 school. Okay. So this is the type 2 school this row is talking about. So for this school, you want to find the type 2 ratio. Now, when you read the question properly, you can see the student teacher ratio can be calculated by taking the number of students divided by number of teachers. Always keep in mind in these kind of questions, rather than using direct values, use cell addresses. Okay. Now, what is the cell address of the cell containing the number of students in type 2 school? For the type 2 school, which cell, okay, what's the cell address containing the number of students? So, these are cell contain number of students for type 2 school. No? This blue color highlighted cell, it's there in which cell address? To find the cell address, you see the column name and row number. Correct. That is there in the C5 cell. So they are saying number of students divided by number of teachers. The number of teachers in type 2 school, that is there in which cell address? Correct. That is there in the D5 cell. So this is the D5. cell. Okay, so we are going to mention equal C phi divide by D phi. That is the answer for this question. Is that clear, all of you all? Got it? C phi divided by D phi is equal to F phi. Is this correct? Nope. Normally, if you read this question, they're asking you to write a formula. So when they ask you to write a formula, you got to keep in your mind formula starts with equal symbol, and then onwards you mention what should be the value. You can't mention F5 is equal to C5 blah blah blah. You can't mention this part. You don't mention this part in a formula. Got it? What about brackets? If you want, you can mention brackets, not important. If we write it by numbers, is it wrong? Um, in this question, they have not told you about you have to use only cell address. But normally in a spreadsheet question, they expect you to mention the cell address. So if you mention equals 826,255 divided by 158,486, technically it's correct, okay, but not suitable. Then equal sum can be used. This is division. When we use sum for addition, there is no addition down here. I have a question, but read a second question. What is it? Dollar symbol not needed. Yeah. If you have any questions, drop in the chat. You don't need dollar symbol for this. Next. If you have any questions, drop in the chat. I'll move to the next one. Yeah, if you have any questions, drop in the chat. The cell B7, which is B column B row number 7. Okay. They are saying the cell B7 is used to calculate the total number of students, so total number of schools in Sri Lanka. Write down the suitable function for cell B7 to display the result. Okay. Now write sum. Read that question and tell me, are they asking you the formula or are they asking you the function? They're asking you the function. So technically, if you just mention the word sum, even they had to give you marks. Without equal symbol, without brackets, without cell range, if you just mention sum, they have to give you marks. But I feel like it should be a typing error. The correct word should have been write down a formula using function. I think they would have meant that write down a formula using function. Function and formula are same, right? Actually, no. Shall I tell you the difference? Now, if you take a formula starts with equal symbol, and within the formula, what we do is we write some things to perform calculations. So inside a formula, you can use numbers. You can mention numbers. Inside a formula, you can mention cell address. You can't mention letters, man. You can mention numbers, or else you can mention cell address, not letter, cell address. I'm saying not. Okay, cell address. Yes. Okay. Apart from mentioning cell address, we can mention arithmetic operators. What I mean by arithmetic operators means addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, those things are arithmetic operators. Now, apart from these three, apart from mentioning numbers, cell address, arithmetic operators, another one more thing which you can mention inside a formula is only the so-called function. So function is like these kind of things that you can mention inside a formula, right? Just like you can mention addition inside a formula, you can mention the word sum most inside a formula. So sum is a function, right? So for example, I can mention something as equal sum A1 to B1 into 3. Now, if you look at this formula, in this formula, I have mentioned a function, an arithmetic operator, as well as a number, right? So if you take this function is a component which you can include inside a formula. Is that clear? Perfect. So if you read this question properly, they ask the function for cell B7. So if you just write sum, they have to give you marks. But I feel like the question had not been clear. Okay, the question must be asking the formula which includes a function. So then just mentioning sum, I think the most preferable answer will be equal sum and mention the cell address of the range we want to enter, not free marks. Either one of the answers you mention, you'll get marks. Now tell me, to calculate the total number of schools, what is the cell range I have to add together? Normally, cell range will have two cell address. From cell address and to cell address, like from here to here. From where to where? Correct. These are the values I have to add together. So these values which I highlighted now, it is then which cell range? Starting from B3 cell, we're going to go up to B5 cell. Okay, this is B3 and this is B5. So I can mention equal sum B3 to B5. So if you had mentioned the full formula, your answer is correct. Even if you just mention the word called sum only, also your answer is correct because the question is not very clear. B6, right? Sorry, B6, 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 sorry, B6. Not B5, B6. Yes, B6, B6, B3 to B6. This 6, no? I saw this as number 5 first. B6. Is that clear, all of you? Both are valid answers. In terms of marks, for the first question, if you wrote this, put 2 marks. Second question, if you wrote either one of them, put 1.5 marks. Equal sum B3 plus B4 plus B5 plus B6. Is this correct? It is correct, but why are you writing that when? The purpose we use sum function itself is we use function itself so that we don't have to write the cell address like this one by one. So the way you have written, there is no purpose of writing a function. So you can get marks for that, but more precisely write the function like this, the function name and in brackets the cell range. In first one, it's F5, no. No. In the first question, we are writing the formula inside F5. This is F5. 5.2 is a cell F5. Inside this cell, we are writing that formula. What do you mean by it's not there? Oh, okay, fine. Next, if you have any questions, drop in the chat. Assume that the formula written in cell B7 is copied to the cell range C7 to E7. Okay, where is B7 cell first of all? Here. The pink color highlighted one, we're going to copy it to C7 to E7, it seems, which means we're going to copy it to C7 to E7. We're going to copy it to these cells. To get the total number of students, teachers, blah, blah, blah. Write down a formula which can be entered in cell D7. Actually, it should not be write down the formula which should be entered in D7. It should be write down the formula that will be present in E7 or that will be shown in E7, which can be seen in E7 cell. This question is very stupid English. Anyways, now when you copy a formula from one cell and paste to another cell, okay, will the formula be the exact? Any formula you copy from one cell and paste to another cell, like can you guarantee and tell nothing will change in the formula the way it was copied, like that it will get pasted? Can you tell her that? No. No, I told you a formula can include numbers, a formula can include cell address, a formula can include arithmetic operators, and a formula can include functions, right? Apart from this, there's nothing else for your syllabus that a formula can include, okay? Now, out of them, tell me which one out of them normally changes when you copy a formula from one cell and paste it to another cell. I'll give you a hint. All of them will not change. Okay, all of them will not change. There's something that will get changed. Tell me what out of these four, which one will get changed? Is the numbers going to get changed? So this is number. This is arithmetic operator. This is a function. And inside the function, I have mentioned cell addresses. So what's going to get changed? Exactly. Only the cell addresses get changed. Keep in mind when you copy a formula from one cell and paste it to another cell, only the cell addresses get changed. Now the question mark is how does it get changed? What will happen is just like your movement, okay, the same movement is only going to get applied as well. What I mean by that is now when I'm copying from cell, now if you look at this question, the Roman number 3, I'm copying the formula from which cell? Read the Roman number 3 and tell me I'm copying the formula from which cell address? Correct. I'm going to copy the formula from B7. And I'm going to find the formula that was pasted into which cell? I'm going to find the formula that was pasted onto which cell? Correct. That was pasted to D7 cell. So the formula was copied from B7. It was pasted to D7. Now to go from cell B7 to D7, first of all, figure out the movement, the changes. First of all, tell me, should I jump rows? That means, should I go up or down? Is there any vertical movement like going up, going down? How is it going like that? Is there vertical movements? No. I just have to jump one, two. I just have to jump exactly two cells towards my right. To go from the copying cell to pasting cell, I just have to jump two cells towards my right, right? To go from copying cell to pasting cell, just two cells from the right, right? Because you can see here, normally when you're jumping cells, okay, normally when you're jumping cells, the copying cell to pasting cell, see, there are two things that can get changed. The column names can get changed, the row numbers can get changed. Now you can see here in the copying cell address and pasting cell address, the row numbers are the same, which means we are not jumping rows. But if you compare the column names, you can see we have jumped column. So to go from this column B to column D, okay. Now, what is it? From row number 7 to row number 7, there is no change. But from column B to column D, you can see we have to jump two cells towards the right. B to C is one jump, C to D is another jump, two cells towards the right. Now, what's going to happen is when your copying cell is going to jump two cells towards the right, okay, in the formula also, all the cell addresses are going to jump two cells towards the right. So what I mean by that is, if the formula I copied was this, so this was the formula I wrote for B7 cell, okay? You can see in the question number 2, that formula I wrote was written in the B7 cell. So when I copy this formula and paste it there, I'm going two cells towards the right now. While I am going two cells towards the right, even the cell address is also going to go two cells towards the right. So in that case, what's going to happen is, in the formula we had B3, right? Equals some B3, no? This B3 will become what? From B3 cell, if you go two cells towards the right, which cell do you have? From the B3 cell, just imagine going two cells towards the right. Which cell do we have? This is B3. From B3, two cells towards the right. 1, 2. What is cell we have? Yes, the D3 cell. And similarly, from B6 cell, if you go two cells towards the right, this is B6. From here, two cells towards the right. 1, 2. What cell do we have? Yes, we have the D6 cell. So the same formula, when you paste it to that cell, this is how it's going to be. Equal sum D3 to D6. Okay, so keep in mind, in a formula, you're going to jump from one cell to another cell address change, and the cell address changes relatively. Relatively means how you're moving. If you jump from the copying cell, if you go one cell right, cell address also will go one cell right. If you go one cell left, cell address also will go one cell left. If you go up, cell address also will go up. That same movement we have from the copying cell to pasting cell, the same movement only will be applied for the cell addresses as well. Is that clear, all of you? Got it? Okay. So if you got that answer, put 1 mark, 1.5 marks there. you have any questions, drop them in the chat. The dollar sign. Dollar sign is used for something called as absolute cell referencing. Okay. So if you're going to ask me, why do we need this so-called absolute cell referencing? Now you can see when you copy and paste a formula, cell address change now. If you want the cell address not to change, that is where you put the dollar symbol. Now here, have they meant, now, is there necessary we want to keep something not changing? No. This question, when you copy paste here, it's going to take D3 to D6. And if you see D3 to D6, exactly they have the teacher's details. And that is what we want. So it's correct. There is no problems. When you're copy pasting a formula, if you want something not to change, that is when you are using dollar symbol. Dollar symbol is used for absolute cell reference. Can you explain the difference between formula and function? By you there when I wrote all these stuffs. This thing and this thing. I explained what is formula and functions there. If you joined late, watch the recording or wait after class. Anyways, anyone have any questions regarding Roman number 3? Anything else? Okay, if you got that correct, put 1.5 marks there. Why didn't you include the dollar symbol in the third part? That's what. Will you give time to play? Yes. Why do we need the dollar symbol? Shruti, no. The Roman number 2, they're asking the B7 formula only, Shruti. For absolute cell referencing. Okay, why do we need absolute cell referencing, man? That's my question. What is the purpose we use absolute cell referencing? Now, for example, if I come and ask you, why do you need a sweater? What's your answer? Will you tell to cover your attire? Is that going to be your answer? And I ask, why do you need a sweater? If I come and ask, why do you need a sweater? Will you tell to cover my body? Is that going to be your answer? No. You wear sweater to protect yourself from cold. So, for example, in summer season, will you wear a sweater? During a hot, bloody hot season, will you go and wear a sweater? No. Right? You don't wear. Reason is because sweater is used to wear as a clothes when it's hot, so when it's cool. Similarly, the dollar symbol, it's used for absolute cell referencing, and absolute cell referencing is used when you want something to be fixed, when you want something not to get changed. If you take a cell address, like for example, let's say the cell address called A1, a cell address has two things. It has a column name and a row number. So when you're copy pasting a formula, I told you, this can get changed based on your movement. If you go one cell towards the right, this cell also will go one cell towards the right. So that will get changed now. If you want a part of this not to change, for example, if you want the column name not to change, we use dollar equal. The dollar is protecting the column name. When you copy paste in a formula, in a cell address, if you want the row number not to change, you put $1. If you want both not to change, we put $A$1. So absolute cell referencing is done if you want something not to change. Now here we don't have anything that we don't want to change. Like, is there anything we don't want to change? Nothing is a problem. For example, when I copy paste the formula here, it was taking equal sum D3, D6. This is D3, D6. And that is what we want. We want to find the total number of teachers, right, in this cell. And correctly, we're getting the total number of teachers here. So what is there which we want not to change? Only if you want something not to change, you use the dollar symbol. Got it? Is it wrong to include dollar symbol in function that doesn't need it? Depends on the question. Question is correct, man. You prove me first of all, why do you need dollar symbol? Then I will tell you, is your answer correct or wrong? Okay. What is a formula to be written in cell D8 to get the lowest number of teachers? Okay. In D8 cell, which is this cell, if you want to find the lowest number of teachers, first of all, tell me, out of a range of values, if you want to find what do you call the lowest value, what is the function we have to use? Zara formula. We have to use a min function. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write in my formula, I'm going to include a function called min function. And now tell me, for this min function, tell me, what is the cell range I have to pass in? The number of teachers. So what is the cell range containing the number of teachers of different school? Correct. That's D3 to D6. This is the cell range containing the number of teachers. So if you mention this, your answer is correct. Is that clear, all of you? You got that correct? Put 1.5 marks there. If you have any questions, drop them in the chat. Next, what is the formula to be written in cell E9 to calculate the highest number of grade 1 admission? Again, in a range of cells, if you want to find the highest number, what is the function we have to use? Isn't there an English error in the third question? That is what I corrected. But that doesn't make an answer difference. Whether you mention seen or enter, it's the same. There's no difference in the answer. It's not English error. It's English is correct. Logical error. When we write the function sum, min, and max, should it be in capital letters? No, it can be simple capital, not a problem. Yes. To find the largest number, we use a max function. So I'm going to mention a equals max. And we want to find the highest number of grade 1 admission. No. So what is the cell range contain the grade 1 admissions of different schools? The grade 1 admissions of different schools. Yes, it is this cell range, which is E3 to E6. So equals max, E3 to E6. If we put D6 for min, then the answer will be 1, right? Eh? No, it's wrong. The question is asking for D8 and E9. Is the answer wrong if we mention maximum? Yes, we don't have a function called maximum. The functions we have in spreadsheet are min, max, sum, average, count, and count A. In your syllabus, you have only this. In reality, we have more, but in your syllabus, we have only this. So you're supposed to use one of these functions, which is more applicable. Mod is not a function. Mod is operator. Total is not a function. What is the difference between count and counting? Count will count only the cells containing values. Values mean something that is measurable. Okay, for example, is this a thing? Can you measure red? Can you measure blue? Can you measure green? Can you measure this Yusuf? No, you can't measure these values. But if I say 123, is it a value that can be measured? Yes. If I say rupees 7,200, is this that can be measured? So anything that can be measured, you can what you call calculate using the count function. And count A function, you can count the number of cells containing any values. Okay. So count will consider what you call the cells containing numbers only. Values means numbers, mainly numbers only. But apart from numbers, you can even consider dates as numbers. Huh? But if you take count A function, it will count the number of cells containing any values. If it's a name or if it's a number or if it's a symbol, anything it will consider. Okay. So count A will count any values. Any values means anything basically. As long as the data cell is not empty. As long as the cell is not empty, it will count. And count will count only the cell contain numbers or values basically, anything that can be measured. Blank cell, no. Count and count A both will not count the blank cells. Next. Assume that on a different A, we had this question somewhere. Where did we do this question? I can remember this question. It was there in one of the oral papers, right? I think 2023 oral paper, if I'm not wrong. Let me just take it. I can remember doing that question. If that is the case, then this bugger has made the paper by copying the oral paper. Okay, it's taking time to load. Anyways, assume that on a different spreadsheet, the cell B3 contains the formula equal sum $B2 to B2. And it is dragged sideways along row 3. Row 1, row 2, row 3. And in this B3 cell, we have the formula and it is dragged sideways. Sideways means right or left. Write down the formula that will be appear in cell E3. E3 means right side basically. So we are going to copy it from the B3 cell and we're going to paste it to the E3 cell. Okay, we're going to copy it from B3 cell and we're going to paste it to E3 cell. Now, when you copy and if you see compare the copying cell address and pasting address, tell me, are we jumping rows? Compare the copying cell address and pasting cell address and see, has the row number changed? No. So we are not jumping rows. Are we jumping columns to go from B to E? Are we jumping columns? Yes. You can see we are going right side. Right? How many columns towards the right? Like how many cells should you jump towards the right? B to C, C to D, and D to E. So how many are we jumping? Correct. We're jumping 3 cells towards the right. So if you are going to go 3 cells towards the right, all the cell address in the formula also will go 3 cells towards the right. So in the formula we have equal sum $B2 to B2 no. So you can see there are 2 cell address. This is one cell address and this is another cell address. Now, if you take going 1 cell towards the right, so 3 cells towards the right, will going 3 cells towards the right affect the column name or will it affect the row number? Correct. Because horizontal change, right or left is horizontal change. Huh? Horizontal changes affects the column name. Okay. Look at this first a cell address called B2 cell address and tell me, in this cell address, can we change the column name? Will the column name get changed when you paste that cell? No. You can see in front of the column name, there's a dollar symbol. Normally in formulas, we use dollar symbol to keep something fixed. We call it absolute cell referencing. In the cell address, we're not going to use a dollar symbol. You call it as absolute cell referencing. And you do this absolute cell referencing to keep something in fixed. So in this scenario, when you copy paste the formula, we can see because the dollar symbol is there in front of B, the cell address B will not change. Only B will not change because only in front of B it's there. Anyways, 2 will not change because row number changes only if there's row change. But in this scenario, you can see from the copying cell to pasting cell, there is no row changes. No. So 2 will anyways not change. But the reason B is not changing, B should change. Technically, B should change. But here B is not changing is because there's a dollar symbol protecting it. So B2 will not change. But if you look at the second cell address, do we have we done absolute cell referencing for the cell address? No, there is no dollar symbol, so no absolute cell referencing. So from that cell address, for that cell address, if you apply this of going 3 cells towards the right, what will B2 become? From B2 cell going 3 cells towards the right, it will become B to C, C to D, D to E. B2 will become E2. So in that case, in a pasting cell, this is going to be the formula. Is that clear, all of you? If you got that correct, put 2 marks there. All of you tell me now, out of 10 marks, how many marks did you get? If you have any questions, drop them in the chat. This time for spreadsheet, I got 10 marks. That shows that you have improved, that means. Good. In 2023, all of the same idea is there with different cell address. I see that means my prediction is correct. I mean, my remembrance is correct. Yeah, see, in Roman number 6, there was same question. Told you. Okay. I'll give you a time to pray and come because now it's 6:50. So I'll give you 5 minutes to pray. After praying, you all can come and do this question. I'll give you 5 minutes for Roman number 2 and Roman number 3. Okay. So what the time now? 6:51. 5:57. Yeah, it's programming. I'll give you time till 7. I attend all your paper class. I think it was really easy. Nice, nice, nice. 6:51, 7. This is too much. Just try attempting, nothing big. I'll give you time till 7:05. It's too much, but you can put all of your hands down, all of your hands down. Once you're done with this question, raise your hands up. You can go and pray and come and do this question as well. I'll give you time till 7:05. I feel like the time is too much. So if majority is done by 7:05, then I'll start discussing. Anyways, all of us start doing this question. Thirteen kya 7:75. Yusuf, for the last 1 year, it's been streamed in YouTube. Do these questions now. Discussion at 7:05. Okay, do this question. Once you're done, raise your hands up. Huh? You'll have 1 more minute remaining. Wait a second. By the way, the recording, tunes, and all those stuff, I'll be posting in the channel, not channel, the community. So if there's anyone of you not in that WhatsApp community, I'll just share the link in the chat. Just make sure that they're not. Walaikum salam. All right. Okay, your time is up. Stop your workings and let's check your answers. Assume that the school management wants to introduce a digital library facility, www dot blah 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 blah, to their students. They provide students a username and a password to log in into the system. If the entered password is correct, they log into the system. If not, an error message will be displayed. Okay. Muhammad, WhatsApp me, I'll ignore. Consider the given flowchart which shows the above. Write down the respective terms derived from the scenario to fill in the blanks. Okay. So if you look at this program, you can see first itself they are mentioned to enter the URL. Okay. Then Highfield library login page. Okay, they're going to show a text called hybrid login. Nothing is basically. Then you can see there's a parallelogram used here. And number one. Now tell me, inside a flow chart, we have different symbols we use. For example, we call this as ellipse. Okay, ellipse. Ellipse shapes is used for the begin and end of the program. So normally the beginning of the program, we mention the word called start, and end of the program, we use the word called stop. For these two only elliptical shapes are used. And then whenever you have a question, like a condition or a decision, you can see rhombus is used. Rhombus is normally used for conditions. Okay. And then normally the rectangle is used for process. Whenever there's a calculation, a process that has to be done, we mention them inside a rectangle. So tell me, the parallelogram is normally used for what kind of scenarios? There are two instances a parallelogram is used. What are those two instances? Correct. A parallelogram is used for an input statement or to represent an output statement. Now you can see here they have mentioned the parallelogram for enter the URL because they are asking the user to enter the URL. It's input. Similarly, there is another parallelogram here. Now, as per the paragraph mentioned above, in terms of when the program is running in the login page, there are two things you have to get from the user. What are those two things that you get from the user? In this paragraph you read here, they have mentioned there are two things you have to get from the user. What are those two things? Correct. They are the username and password. So I'm going to say the statement number one is going to be equal to input username, comma, password. Okay, input username, comma, password. Input keyword is used. You can use the word input or get, enter. You can use any other synonyms, fine. But make sure this word called username and this word called password is a one word. Okay. Don't keep it like user space name. Make sure it's one word because they're variables. Next, you can see after you get the username and password, you're going to check is the password correct. There's a decision box to check is the password correct. Now, depending on whether the password is correct or wrong, we have to make a decision. So here you can decide any paths you want. Let's say, what do you call the number 5 is going to be yes. Now, if you take a condition, normally condition can give you yes, or else the condition can give you no. Should we write input? Yes. You can use input or any other keywords like input, enter username, comma password, or get username, comma password. Any other synonyms are also fine. Okay, so if you take a condition can be true or false. For true, I'm mentioning the part yes, and no, I'm mentioning no. Now tell me, if the user is what do you call actually it has to be a process. Logging into the system has to be a process. But anyways, for login to now, let's say they enter the correct password. Let's say let's display a message say you have successfully logged into the system or successful login killer. Okay, if the user has logged in correctly, let's show a message called successfully logged in. And let's say if they wrote the wrong password, let's say we put a message saying incorrect password. Let's say this is going to be the error message that's going to get displayed. Okay. If their details are correct, they're going to display a message saying successfully logged in. If their password is wrong, we're going to display a message saying incorrect password. So based on that, tell me for this parallelogram, which has a label number 2, what should be the statement? I had to mention inside. Is it the statement number 1, which is successfully logged in, or is it the statement number 2, which is incorrect password? What do you think? Sarah, correct. If you write only enter password for one, is it wrong? Yes, it is wrong because you got to get the username as well. With only the password, you can't tell is the account correct or wrong. You need 2 details. Exactly. It's going to be number 1. So what you can do is for the statement number 2, you can tell it should be, you can mention directly display login page. This is also correct. Display login page. This is correct. So display home page, because once you're logged into the system, you will go for the home page. No. So simply you can say display home page. This is also fine. But more than this, to be more precise, we can say display logged in successfully. I'm not sure of my spelling for successfully, but yeah, I'm going to say this message called logged in successfully. If the word display is not mentioned, is it wrong? Um, any other synonyms? For example, display logged in successfully, or output logged in successfully, show logged in successfully, or show home page, display home page. As long as this idea is represented, when a person who is reading this should get the idea that, okay, now he's basically, his details are correct. The idea is what is more important here. For the first one, I wrote checking whether the password is correct or wrong. Is it correct? Wrong. It's not a process. This number 1 is actually an input or output. That's wrong. For the first one, I wrote as enter the password. Is it correct? Wrong. Because you can't check if your account details is correct or wrong. You can't check by using only the password, right? How do you check only the password? Now, for example, let's say my password and your password. Let's say both of us have the same password. So if I log in, will it show your account? Practically, tell me. So it should, to identify the account with only the password, you can identify. You need the email as well as password, or else username as well as password. There are 2 datas. So if you just mention password, that's wrong. You mention username and password. Clear? So for number 3, my answer is display error message. Wait, I need to come for that bit. So number 3 is going to be this statement. You come for this side, only that condition is false. So for number 3, you can mention display error message. This, it's more precise. If you can display what the message is, you can display incorrect password. Always be precise with your answer. So for number three, my recommended answer is something like display incorrect password. For the second one, if I write it, open the library login, is it correct? Open the library login doesn't make sense, but that's why I said technically that box should have been a process. If it was a process, it makes sense. But you can see it's a parallelogram, which means they're expecting an input statement or output statement. In oral papers, do they give the output words like incorrect password? Depends. You can't expect. That's why I think for programming, you use your brains a bit. So when they say if not an error message will be displayed, you have to think, okay, what is the more, okay, practically tell me, is the most suitable error message you can tell when you come here, apart from saying what you call your password is incorrect, apart from the password being incorrect, is there any other instances will be coming for this for this box? Apart from the password being incorrect, is there any other situation we can come for that box? No, because why? Here you're checking is the password correct. Here you're asking, you're checking basically is the password correct. So only if the password is incorrect, you're going to come to this box. So when you say to display error message, practically you have to think, okay, what is a suitable error message I can display? So this is where you use brains. Always in programming questions, you can't expect them to spoon feed you everything. Up to a certain level, you have to use your brains and think, okay, what is the suitable killer? Ask yourself. So when you go through the program, you can see in this box where checking is a password correct. So technically, we come for this box only if the password is wrong, right? So then the most suitable error message you can say is display incorrect password because if you're coming here, that means the password is incorrect. Got the idea how it should work? If I hadn't written display, is it wrong? Yes, because this is a process. Either you got to use display or any other synonyms. What I mean by synonym is like display, show, something like that. And then number four and number five, I already showed you. Number four is actually going to be no. Number five is actually going to be yes. You can switch number four and five. If you put number four as yes and number four as no, then you have to switch two and three. Yeah? If you have swapped this order of four and five, if you have put number five as yes and number four, if you have switched this number four and five, then your answers these two also has to switch. Huh? Keep that in your mind. If you have put number five as no, then in that case, what you call number two has to be the display error message. If you have put number four as yes, then number three has to be display login page. Got it? If you have switched number four and five, you switch two and three as well. Fourth one, can't we put re-enter correct password killer? Wait. You can mention re-enter correct password as well because it is here. No, you can't switch four and five. You can't switch four and five. You can't switch four and five. The reason you can't switch four and five is because if you notice here, it is not a if condition, it's a loop. Like if you notice here, after you display the incorrect password, you're again coming back to the what do you call you're again coming back and checking is the password correct. So technically, number three should not be display incorrect password. Number three has to be input password. Number three has to be this message is a bit wrong. I mean the question is a bit wrong. But technically number three has to be input password because again if you enter the password you can check is a new password correct. So technically three has to be input password. So as per that, this question is a bit wrong. You can't, we are unable to display an error message. If you want, you can do this. You can do two things. Inside the same box, you can write both the statement, but that's not suitable. There is no end. There is end. So again and again, you're going to, what do you call, if you put wrong password, again, you're going to ask a password. Wrong password, again, you're going to input password. Wrong password, again, input password. Wrong password, again, input password. Once the correct password is entered, you go down saying display the home page or display logged in successfully. So you can't switch these 4 and 5. You can't switch 2 and 3. That's not bad. In Kanaparos, I put the answer correctly for 4 and 5. But yeah, Did you all understand why I changed the answer number 3, all of you? Clear why I changed answer number 3? See, in answer number 3, there is a repetition. It's again coming and checking, is the password correct? So if you want to again come and check is the password correct, you have to ask the password from the user again. So that's why I said 3 has to be enter password, so 4 is no, and 5 is yes. But sir, in the question they are saying the password is correct, you are logged into the system. So then isn't it output for number 2? That's why I said any. Do you know the word called synonym? I pity your English teacher. When I said you can use any other synonym, I use the word display home page, display login page, any other words that gives that idea is correct. Okay, simple. See, for number 2, I mentioned display logged in successful. But you can't mention display home page, display login page. The reason why I'm saying you can't mention the word display login page is because what do you call, not display login page. You can't just mention the word called login to the system. Okay, you can't just mention the word called login to the system is because the word login to the system or give access to the system, that's a process. But you can see they use a parallelogram here. Parallelogram is used to show input or output statement. That's why I use the word display without just mentioning that. That makes sense. Then what in the question they're asking, saying if the password is correct, you're logged into the system. So isn't that the output for number 2? Tell me your exact answer for number 2. Then I'll tell you the answer correct or wrong. Okay. But in the second one, we already entered password. That's different. I don't get what are the words should be written when programming. So is there any way that I can get an idea how to write? It's like this. Logically, you have to think. I'll come to that. Give me more wait. Shazma, yes. I'll show you a video. Watch that video. And, I did show that video actually when I'm doing programming in a class. I'll show it for you all as well. Watch that video, then I'll continue teaching. It'll make sense. Because you all don't know what do you mean by programming still. In programming, there's nothing called, I mean, in algorithm, there's nothing called correct or wrong. Because this is basically containing instructions, simple English. So when you take instructions, I can write the same we both can write the same instructions in 2 different ways. The words can change, but the person who is reading it to match, because this is not programming. I mean, algorithm is not a program. Algorithm is containing simple English, is the simple instruction, simple English. So let me show you a video on that so you get a rough idea. What do you call why is my lap stuck? Load.
It's showtime.
It's stuck, wait.
On at home.
Other piece of bread.
Watch this video.
You're not making any sense. Zari ruined it on purpose. He knows how to make one.
What's up, the internet? You know what? I'm hungry. I could really go for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Do you guys think you can write down some instructions and teach me how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
Yeah.
Then do it.
I knew we were gonna do this. I heard Dad talking to Mom.
Yes, I saw this.
Choke yourself on my hand. Sometimes they do when you tell them.
I'm done.
Step 1. Get 2 pieces of bread out. Got 'em. Get a butter knife and get some PB. Take 1 piece of bread, spread it around with the butter knife.
No, Dad, with the peanut butter.
I'm just doing what it says. It says take 1 piece of bread, spread it around with the butter knife.
Hold on.
Get some jelly rub it on the other half of the bread.
Yes.
No, Dad, open the jelly.
Well, it doesn't say to do that. Put the breads together on top of each other. Take a big bite. This doesn't taste like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Fail.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I had to make it extremely specific.
Oh, good. I'm starving. Take 2 pieces of white bread out of the bag. Take the lid off the jar of peanut butter. Get a butter knife and stick it inside of the peanut butter jar. With the knife, scoop a bit of peanut butter out of the...
That means like a lot.
A bit means a lot?
In my world.
Spread your scoop of peanut butter onto one of your pieces of bread with the knife. All right. There we go.
You're doing better than before, though.
Open the jelly jar. Squeeze it onto the other piece of bread.
Nope.
Done. Closer. Get 2 pieces bread. Get some peanut butter. Take the peanut butter knife. Open the peanut butter. Put the knife in the PB. Get some jelly. Open the jelly.
No.
Squirt the jelly onto the bread. Take the butter knife with the peanut butter on it. Wipe it all over the piece of bread that's blank. Take the butter knife, rub the jelly all over the piece of bread.
Oh, he's doing better. Oh.
All it is. Don't have
It says all over. Put the 2 pieces on top of each other.
This isn't how I meant.
Take 2 pieces of white bread out of the bag. Take the lid off the jar of peanut butter. Get a butter knife and stick it inside of the peanut butter jar. With the knife, scoop some of the peanut butter out of the inside of the jar. Spread your scoop of peanut butter onto one of your pieces of bread with a knife.
No.
Squeeze some jelly onto the other piece of bread. Spread the jelly on the bread with the butter knife. Put your 2 pieces of bread, peanut butter and jelly sides together. Done. Get 2 pieces of bread. Get some peanut butter. Get some jelly. Open the peanut butter. Get a butter knife. Put the butter knife in the peanut butter. Take the butter knife out of the peanut butter.
You did it wrong. No.
Take 1 piece of bread and take the butter knife that has the peanut butter on it and spread it all over the top of the piece of bread.
Dad,
That's the top.
I mean the sides.
Squirt some on another piece of bread. Take the butter knife, rub it all over the top of the piece of bread.
I quit. You're not making any sense. Zari ruined it on purpose. He knows how to make one. I know, Evan. It's the joke. It's the game that we're playing. Oh.
Do you know how to eat a piece of bread? You want to take your sandwich with you?
This is so good.
This looks like a yummy sandwich. I'm glad I made that for you.
Can I not save one with it?
Yeah, go take that one to mommy.
Okay. I edited a bit.
Take 2 pieces of white bread. Take the lid off the jar of peanut butter. Get a butter knife and stick it inside of the peanut butter jar. With the knife, scoop some of the peanut butter out of the inside of the jar. Spread your scoop of peanut butter onto the face of one of your pieces of bread with the knife. Squeeze some jelly onto the other piece of bread. Spread the jelly on the bread with the butter knife. Put your 2 pieces of bread, peanut butter and jelly sides together. Done.
Now eat it.
Not the best,
Well, you made it.
but
so
I think it qualifies. That's a win.
Woohoo!
Okay. If you saw that video properly, you would have noticed that is what is an algorithm. You saw what this children was writing, right? That is basically an algorithm. That's what I'm asking you all to do. So when you're writing algorithm, use your common sense and think of every minute instruction that has to be specified. But without username and password, without both the datas, can you check is the password correct for an account? No. That's why I said for this you have to mention, okay, input password and what you call username both. So in alternate to the word input, you can use any other synonyms like input, enter, get, read. These are all synonyms, right? So likewise, depending on the shape you decide, first of all, is it input, output, processor, what kind of statement? And once you know the shape, then you decide what are the keywords you use. Got it? Does it make sense of how you figure out the keywords? It depends on the plot. Depending on the situation, you think, okay, if the password is correct, what should happen? If the password is wrong, what should happen? If this statement is again repeating, then why is it repeating? It can't be a display output state, display password wrong. It has to be something else. If it's again repeating. Is that clear all of you? Anyone having any questions here regarding this? If the parents see how you're teaching 11.5 like this, even the grade 11s, I teach like this. Actually, I taught this in grade 11. If you were there in my grade 11 class, if we had programming time, I use that same video. What is Highfield? The name of this school here. Highfield educate with their students. Programming is easy. One thing you have to you just connect is just connect the English and logic. Simple. Why is this programming question easy? Exactly. Okay. Anyone having any questions regarding question A? Like this part regarding my answers for label 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Any further doubts? Yes, the boy was super frustrated. Shazma, I'll be posting that WhatsApp group. I mean WhatsApp community, the recording. I'll just send the link of that channel community in the channel in the chat again. And you can watch the recording anytime. Lifetime recording will be available. I don't delete recordings. I mean, it's paper class recording. Okay, let me represent the question number 2. If 3 answers are correct, then how many marks? Okay, so marks are going to be like this. 5 marks. How your marks is going to be is half, 1, 2, 2.5. So for answer number 3, for this 1 mark, for the remaining ones, half marks each. 1, 2, 2.5, 3. Okay, for label number 3, you get 1 mark. For the remaining labels, you get half marks. I will show you the answer for the question B as well. So just give me extra 10 minutes, even though it's 7:30. Now, when you're converting this from flowchart to a pseudocode, first thing, let's go instruction by instruction. In pseudocode, I'm now answering the question B, okay? In pseudocode, instead of using a word called start, we use a word called begin. So I'm going to write here begin. Enter the URL. If you want, you can mention enter URL, or you can also mention any other synonyms. I'm going to mention here same, enter the URL or enter URL. Simple. Next one, Highfield library login page. So I'm going to show here what you called, I'm going to write that as the same process because that's a process they have mentioned there. No? So I'm going to mention that here as well. That instruction is so stupid, but I'm going to just copy paste the same instruction. That's fine. Now instruction number 3. Instruction number 3, I said, what do you call? So instruction number 1, this fellow. I put the input username, comma password. So I'm going to write the same thing here as well. Input username, comma password. Input username, comma password. Okay. Does a punctuation matters? You mean there is no punctuations I have done up to now here? We don't have much punctuations right now. You should optimize some strategy. After you input the username and password, you have a condition here. Now, when you take conditions in pseudocode, there are two instances where you will come across conditions. One instant you'll come across these conditions, these questions you'll come across is in selection statements. Second is repetitions. Selection statements that if statements are selection. Okay. Apart from if statements, you will get a condition in a loop as well, in repetition as well. Okay, so you can get a condition in two instances. No, Zara, no. URL here is this one. URL here is a what do you call it? Variable. So if you put inverted commas, it's wrong. Okay, conditions are used in two instances. One is selection, another case is repetition. Selection means there's only one choice you have to make. Based on the choice, you're going to follow a instruction. For example, let's say you're going to come to the school. When you're going to come to the school, you make the decision in the morning. Am I going to come in the bus or trishaw or else, let's say, my parents' vehicle, blah, blah, blah. You are making a choice. After you make the choice, you're going to follow one instruction. After you come to the school, again, you're not going to think, okay, how am I again going to come to school? Because you already came to school. Only once you're going to make that decision. But if you notice here, is a password correct? This condition, is it checked only once? Now comes the question. How do you determine if a condition is checked only once? Okay. When you look at the decision box, if you have one arrow coming inside and one arrow going outside, then definitely it's going to be a selection statement. But if it's an instance where not only one arrow is coming, but there are two arrows coming, either it's coming like this. See, there are one arrow coming directly from up and one arrow coming from right. If you're getting more than one instruction coming inside, okay, is the decision box too? You can see there is one arrow coming from here and one arrow coming from up. So if there is two arrows coming to one, that means that instruction is being checked more than one time. When it's come from up also it's checked. When it's come from right side also it's checked. So by looking at that, you can figure out, is it a selection statement or repetition statement? If only one arrow is coming in, it's a selection statement. But if more than one arrows are coming in, like this also you have, like this also you have. Okay. If more than one arrows are coming, it's definitely going to be a repetition. Tell me, are you all clear on how to identify, is it a selection statement or repetition statement? It's one arrow, selection. It's two arrows, it's definitely a repetition. Okay. Now, under repetition structure, in pseudocodes, you all learn two main structures. You all learn something called while loop, and you all learn something called a repeat until loop. Okay. You can use both in this. You can decide what to choose. Depending on what you're choosing, you can change. Okay. Now, for this statement, what do you call for this statement, I'm going to go with while loop, but I'll show you the answer with repeat until loop as well. Huh? If I'm using while loop, I'll show how the answer. Huh? If I'm using while loop, I'm going to mention while password is incorrect. Again, keep in mind, not if is correct. Huh? I'm bringing while password is incorrect. Okay. You should use a word called do here. While password is incorrect, do input password. Else, no, while password is incorrect, do input password. End while, because you don't have else in while loop. And then you can mention here display homepage or display login success. End. Okay. This is how you can mention for the using while loop. I'll show you the same thing using repeat until loop as well. If I'm going to do using repeat until, okay, there's another thing. No. Using repeat until loop, there's going to be a bit different. I'll write it here. So I'm going to mention a begin. Enter URL. and hyphy library login page. Then here, I'm not going to mention input username, input password both. I'm just going to mention input username only. And here I'm going to mention the word called repeat, input password, until password is correct. And here I'm going to mention display login success. End. So in the left hand side, I have showed how to use it in while loop. Right hand side, I have showed how to use in repeat and loop. You can see there are some small changes. For example, in while loop, I have changed that from while password is correct to while password is incorrect. And also in the repeat and loop, you can see I have mentioned input password separately, input username separately. Okay. Because repeat and loop, what happens is it first of all follows an instruction, then only it checks the condition. But if you take while loop, first of all, it check the condition, then only it will repeat the instruction. Because the idea of both these loops work differently, the structure is different. Look at both my answers and tell, did you all understand how it's working? Can we use if? If I told you a while ago, if statement is selection, is it selection or repetition? I told you how to identify the selection or repetition, right? Is this a selection? Look at this. Is that condition being checked only once? Now running this code, is that condition being checked only once? No. Again and again I'm checking, right? If the password is wrong, I'm asking to enter the password and again I'm checking. If it's wrong, again I'm asking to enter the password, again checking. So if a condition is checked more than one time, it is not selection. If then else comes under only selection. Can we write like login hyphy library page? Yeah, you can change the keywords. But again, keep in mind, parallelogram means it's input output. So make sure that you mention the word correctly. While in that do refers to display, right? No, do means do this. Do follow this instruction. Do this if this condition is true. So if the password is incorrect, I'm asking what to do. So while password is incorrect, do input password or do this. I'm asking do something. Simple English. Will they ask us to write Pascal in exams? They don't normally ask, but they can ask. Instead of input, is it possible to use write ln? No. Write ln is used for output, not read input. Write ln is output. Read ln is only input. Or read is only input. And again, we don't use write and read inside pseudocode. That's Pascal. But you can. But write is used for output, not input. Blah, 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 blah. Input password to end. Can you just explain input password and like explain how the process works? Okay, let me tell you. You want the repeat and the loop part or the while loop part? The right one or left one? The while loop. Okay. In the while loop, how it's going to run is, shall I convert this pseudocode inside a working program and show you how it will work? Okay. I'll just do it in Python and show it because Python is very easy. I mean, very quick to make a program. So I'm going to mention the correct password. Correct password is equal to, I'm going to predefine what is the correct password. Okay. So I'm saying correct password is actually ABC1234. Okay. And correct username is correct actually. I'll make a stupid program without making the correct program. Huh? Not official program. So because it's official program, I'll ignore the word called correct username. So if you look at the program, first of all, I'm asking the user to enter URL. This is all basic stuff. So I'm going to ignore these two parts. Okay. I'll just show only the password working scenario. So I'm going to first of all mention password is equal to input, enter the password. And here I'm going to mention while password is equal to, is not equal to, while password is not equal to correct password. Password is in. And after the while loop is completed, you print saying login success. This is Python, so the programming is different. Okay, but I'll just explain what's happening here. Here I'm asking the user to enter the username. Here I'm asking the user to enter the password. Here I have while loop checking is entered password and the correct password if it's not equal. Okay, the symbol is called not equal. So it's not equal. I'm asking to enter the password. Let me run the program. Enter username. So I'm going to say AB, hello. Username is Albis Yusuf. Enter password. I'm going to mention ABC. Again, it's asking me to enter the password. ABCD. Again, it's asking me to enter the password. ABCDEF, let's say. Enter password. ABCD. Again, wrong password. So ABCD. ABC 1234. Login successful. See, I entered initially all wrong passwords. So again, it is asking enter password, enter password, enter password. But once I enter the correct password, it gave me the message called login success. This is how that program will run. It will check is the password correct, not correct, not correct, not correct. If it is not correct, it will display this message, enter the correct password. Or I can mention enter the correct password here. So now if I type the correct wrong password, it will be like enter the correct password here. Again, it will be like enter the correct password. But if I type the correct password, it will give me a message called login successful. Did that make sense? Understood how that program works? The same idea as well applied here as well. Okay. While the password is incorrect, you're going to ask to enter the password. Again and again, it will repeat. And once a password is entered correctly, the loop will stop and you're going to display the message called login success. Anyone having any other questions here? We'll take you algorithm. But if something is there in the syllabus, study it, man. Very lazy. Obviously, if they're not going to test it, will they teach you? No, no. Somewhere or other, that knowledge is going to be tested. So learn it. Simple. Yes, definitely. Pseudocode flowchart is algorithms definitely come a part of your syllabus. When writing programming, if the first few steps are correct, then will the marks be provided for those? Okay, in terms of breaking marks here, how I will be breaking marks is, let's say 3 marks. Let's say if I can break it into 6 things. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. For begin and end, I can give 0.25 marks. For enter URL, I can give 0.25. For high field, 0.25. So I have half marks, 1 mark gone. I have 2 marks. I can marks to half, 1, 1.5, 2. 0.5 marks, 0.5 marks, 0.5 marks, 0.5 marks. Half marks, and then 1 mark. Wait, 0.25, 0.25 is half, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3. Then lying alone, no? I put 0.25 for this fellow. For this fellow, I'm not going to give marks. This is how I would break marks if I do want to break marks for the left side one. For the right side one, if I'm going to break 0.25, 0.25, 0.25. So half 0.25, 0.25. 1 mark gone. I had 2 marks. So 2 marks I can break it as half, 1, 1.5, 2. Half, half, 0.25, 0.25, half. Then I have 0.25, 0.25 is half. That's 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3. Yeah. This is how I'll be making the marks if I really want to break the marks. No, 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 no. For the O level, they'll just put 3. It depends on how the paper is made, man. Depends on how the paper is made. Depends on the question, how they break the marks. But normally they'll give marks for every instruction. They'll break it. Depends. Now sometimes they might focus only on the while loop. They may not care about the remaining part. They might be like, if they have written the while loop correctly, give 3 marks. If the repeated loop is correct, give 3 marks. So here the main focus sometimes might be on the loop. Can't exactly. But anyways, if it's a breakdown, you can expect something like this. Depends. How many marks are got for this question out of 6 marks? Question A has 3 marks, question B has 3 marks. Again, you all can have synonyms, okay? The idea has to be same. The words doesn't have to be exactly same. My sir said that if one is wrong, the whole program is wrong and they won't give marks. Again, I said it depends on the marking scheme. When they're making the marking scheme, they will tell how to evaluate. Sometimes they might focus only on a specific structure. Sometimes they might focus the whole program. Depends. That's why I worried about how to lose marks. Focus on how to get marks. Now, if I write this properly, I'll get marks. Then focus on getting the marks. Why focusing on how to lose the marks? Does it make sense? Anyways, drop me your marks in the chat. This question is an interesting question. The paragraph is not perfect, but I like this question. Anyways, with that, we're done for the day. If you have any questions, you can stay and ask. Others, you can leave. We're done. You have any questions in the chat? Anyone? Okay, as you guys know the questions, I'm going to end the meeting. But again, if there's anything, drop me a WhatsApp message and get things clarified. What are the loops used in selection? Selection doesn't have a loop. Loop means repetition, man. The word loop means repeating. Okay, have a nice day.